So it is approximately 3 p.m. on October 19th, and I am officially lost in the woods. A little while back, I took a tumble. I was walking along the edge of a ridge line. There was a stream at the bottom. I hit a patch of mud. I slipped, I fell, I messed up my ankle, and I managed to dump the majority of my gear down the ravine into the water. I lost my map, I lost my compass, I lost my jacket, my matches, my lighter. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't making the smartest decisions. I decided to go off trail. I wanted to do some fun adventuring, and now I have no map and no idea of where I'm really at. All I know is I'm deep in the forest and I don't really know how to get out. I did manage to save a couple things. They're not much, but I do have one water bottle left. I have the bottom board for my friction fire kit. I have my leather pouch, jute twine, and birch bark, which are both great for fire starting, and a survival blanket. So right now I see myself as having two options. Option number one, I can try and tough it out of here on this ankle, potentially get more hurt and more lost, or I can use what I've got and hunker down for a little while until I can manage to get some rescue out here. Now, being that it's getting late and the sun's gonna go down pretty soon, I'm feeling like option number two. I'm a little limited in terms of movement. I can't really walk too far right now, and I can't really do a whole lot of heavy lifting, but I'm gonna have to make something work. Being that I have no jacket, it's gonna get cold soon, and I need to stay warm. My first thought right now is fire. If I have a fire, I could stay warm, I could potentially signal for rescue, and I can set up at least some form of base camp. I'm gonna clear this area up so I can get a fire going, or try to at least. Here's what I'm thinking. This is the base of a friction fire kit. The way that it works is this hole right here, which appears to be broken, will have a spindle in it. That spindle will spin, which creates friction, which creates an ember, which creates fire. That spindle is spun by a string that's tied around it and attached to a curved stick, making a bow. That bow is held in and it's pumped back and forth, spinning the spindle, creating the friction, creating the ember, creating the fire. I only have the baseboard. However, I think if I can cut this in half, lengthwise, I can leave myself enough for a spindle and a baseboard. Everything else, I'm pretty positive I can harvest out here. So to do this, I'm gonna need a curved piece of wood. Something about 2 to 3 feet long that I can use as my bow. So this should do the trick. Voila. Now I'm gonna take my baseboard and attempt to get a spindle out of it. I gotta be careful though, because if I take too much off of it, it's gonna be too big to be a spindle and too small to be a baseboard, and that leaves me with nothing. What I'm doing here is called batoning. It's a technique that allows me to split larger pieces of wood without using a saw or a hatchet or an axe. As you can see, it starts to split down the grain, giving me a nice and clean piece off of that. Now this guy actually started to taper off at the end, so I have a lot less than I thought I would. With a spindle, we just want it to be as round and circular as possible. The perfect spindle is going to be straight, medium thickness, and free of any knots or bumps that could get in the way of friction. And when you're carving, you could always take away wood, but you can never add wood back, so I have to be really careful about this. Now here, I'm just getting the shape down. I want it to be nice and round. I don't want any of these hard edges. Now just to make things a little bit more clear, this is the bottom board. Here's the spindle we just made. The spindle would go in the bottom board. Now on my leather pouch, there is a little end here. I believe it's the end of a rivet. And in my mind, it's perfect for holding the top of the spindle. And it would spin, creating friction, creating dust, creating an ember, creating a fire. How does it spin? The bow. So let's start working on this next. So for this whole thing to work, we're gonna need string. And the only stuff that I have is from my leather pouch, which is a really nice pouch. And I hate to pull it apart, but it's getting cold. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know when I'm gonna see people, and I'm gonna need to make a fire. So, sorry, buddy. So, we've got us some string. What I'm gonna do is create a knot at the top. So loop number 1 goes over end number 1, like that. And then loop number 2 will go around end number 2, giving us a bow. I am gonna carve a little seat for that string on the ends so it doesn't slip out. Now the idea here is that our spindle goes in our bow. Oh no. Oh no. Well, I snapped my string. So that was idea number one for making a fire. That really hurts. I have a little bit of the string left. I don't trust it to be strong enough for a bow at this point, but I do have another idea. I'm gonna try and make a top board out of my bow. That did not work for us. So what I'm thinking I can do is use the string that I still have, take the spindle, put it in the baseboard, wrap the string around the spindle, and I can use the rivet in the leather pouch to hold this guy down on you. So this might work if I use my body weight. We're getting some spinning here. Well, we got smoke, so that's a start. As you can see, just by doing that, I've made a little hole here. And it's brown from the friction, which means it's working. Now I just need to cut a notch so the dust that forms the ember, that forms the fire, has a place to come out. Now, before I get ahead of myself, I need to prepare my tinder. This is jute twine. It's very thin, fibrous, and hairy. This is birch bark, and it's great for fire because it has oils inside of it that will catch when you light it. When I'm making friction fire, I want to make a tinder bundle so that the ember that gets produced from the kit has a place to grow, to turn into a flame. So we process down our material. I take my jute and I unravel it until I get this fine hair. I don't want string, I don't want rope. I want it to be a ball of fluff. Just like that. I'm hearing planes fly overhead. I'm wishing I could just yell up to them, come get me. So our birch bark, I want to get it so that it is not uniform. Some big pieces, some small pieces, some really tiny pieces. And now I have somewhat of a tinder bundle here. I also need to collect some tiny sticks, really small stuff that can help the fire get started. Birch bark is fantastic, and birch twigs are also fantastic. Now, when you're making a fire, there is a huge difference between really tiny sticks and small sticks. This is a small stick. This is a really tiny stick. We want these to start off. I also have all of these shavings from where I was carving my spindle. These guys are super dry and are going to be fantastic for starting the fire. All right, I think it's time we give this fire a shot. So spindle goes in, string goes around the spindle, body weight over the spindle. I've got a leaf under that little notch that I created in the board. We're getting some smoke, and my rope broke again. No! Yet again, this leather has failed me. I wonder if I double the rope up, it'll be stronger. I'm gonna use my two broken ends and put them together as one. Lord. There we go. Fudge. Oh my God, this is frustrating. Been trying for about an hour now. No fire, just a lot of smoke and a lot of dust. I think that I have to find the right way to hold it so it doesn't keep slipping out on me. Come on. My morale is starting to get low. I'm getting a little hungry, and I need to have something to show for the time that I just spent doing that. I think right now, the best course of action would be to get a shelter together before it gets too dark and plan a fire from there. So we're gonna make a shelter. All right, so this is a little difficult for me. No fire. I have an idea of what I can do with what I have left, but unfortunately it is getting pretty dark. So my next move in my mind is get a shelter going so I have somewhere warm, somewhere I can sleep, and then figure out the next steps from there. I do have my emergency blanket, which unfolds into this reflective material on the inside. I believe it reflects the heat and it keeps you warm. We're gonna try and work this into something else with sticks, leaves, and hopefully some bark. I think if I can establish a shelter, a little base camp, I can figure out fire and rescue from there. So let's get to it. So here's what I'm thinking. Back here, we have this tree that fell over. All of the leaves are creating a bit of a cave here. So if I can figure out a way to add the blanket to this, maybe give it some reinforcements structurally, we can make it work. It's not something that's gonna be long-term. It just needs to be quick, fast, and effective. So my original plan was to unfold this and somehow get it across the inside of it. But I think my better option is to place it over top of all of this, giving me some protection from rain, and still having that heat reflect back to me. What I will do though is cover it with more leaves for more insulation and more protection. Side down. Ugh. I really don't want to rip this, so I have to be careful. It may not be the prettiest, but this is what we've got. Next, we're gonna do leaves. All right, so as you can see, there is no more visible orange, except for the leaves. Take a walk around. As we go under it, we can see the reflective material underneath. I'm gonna clear a couple of these guys out, and this will be where I sleep. Now, what I think I'm gonna do is get a really big pile of leaves under here and put myself between the pile and the shelter. This way, I have some insulation on both sides, and I can kind of keep that warmth circulating. It's kind of nice. 1 bedroom, no bathroom, studio apartment made of leaves. I think I'll call it the House of Leaves. All right, so I'm going to get my stuff together and get ready for sunset. Tomorrow, I'm gonna try and get a fire going and we'll see what happens. See you guys soon. All right, so it is morning. My shelter is back there. I didn't get a ton of sleep. It got really cold and I had to bury myself in leaves, but it was definitely way better than nothing. I pulled off the emergency blanket. Right now, my priority is fire. Once we get the fire, I'm gonna use this emergency blanket as a signal. Hopefully, if there's any planes or helicopters overhead, they will see it and hopefully they can help me out of here. When we tried making the fire yesterday, the leather straps were a little too old and they broke, but I do have these 2 panels left from that pouch, which I'm gonna try and cut into more straps that are a little bit thicker and a little bit stronger. So I'm thinking that I'm gonna go ahead and cut out a circle and just loop it in till I have a spool of cord. A knife in the wood, and I'm going to try and just go in a circle here. I gotta be careful, I don't wanna take too much material off. All right, we got 1 here, nice and long. And here's number 2. I'm gonna get these guys finished up and hopefully we can get a fire. So let's get after it. All right, we're trying the bow again, except we have the thicker string on it. It's a different bow, I just threw it together. But as you can see, it does exactly what we need it to. We got it, we got it. Okay, so that, my friends, is an ember, which means we might make this fire. Okay, so I have a little bit of tinder left. I'm gonna drop in my ember. There we go, there we go. Now I gotta add sticks and I gotta be fast. Okay, so our fire's going. I'm using my board for material. I'm just cutting some off because this is really dry and it did rain recently, so there's a lot of wet material out here. We've got a fire. This is huge. Oh my God. Making that fire at first was so tiring. I felt my forearms cramping up, my back was aching, but we got it. We pushed through and we got it. So first things first, I have to make sure that my fire area is completely clear so that the fire doesn't spread, but also I need to make sure the fire stays lit. I have about a 5-foot diameter of dirt around the fire. That should be good enough to keep it from spreading. I'm gonna add some sticks to it, get it a little bigger. And then with my emergency blanket, I'm gonna spread it out in this big open area over here, and I think I'm gonna put a message on it with some sticks or rocks that says SOS. I think Rihanna made a song about that, but that's besides the point. Let's get to it. So the fire is good, it's safe, it's not going anywhere. Let's get this guy spread out and down. I'm gonna get some rocks or heavy logs and put it on the corners so it doesn't go anywhere. All right, check this out. So we've got SOS on this reflective blanket. Like I said, the hope is that a helicopter or plane flying overhead sees it, calls it in, and I can get some help out here. Now we wait. I'm gonna forage what I can, look for some edibles out here, keep the fire going, and I need water. So that is the next step for me. So those are my next steps. I'm gonna check back in periodically with updates. See you guys soon. Note to self, be careful when you are outside. Don't lose all your gear. Keep a compass, get a map, know where you're going, know where you are, know what you're doing, so you don't end up in a situation like this. Oh my God, do you guys hear that? Hold on. I think it's a helicopter. I'm seeing red. I'm seeing a white cross on the side. Oh my God, this might be it, guys. This might be it. Hey, over here, help! Holy cow. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for following along. This has been crazy, but guys, we did it. I'm gonna get the last of my stuff together and fingers crossed, get the heck out of here. People, have a wonderful day. Don't do what I just did. Be safe, be careful. I'll see you guys next time.